I swear my cats never make any noise until I sit down to film, and then they find the loudest toy to play with every single time. It's like they know. It is officially Monday, May 12th, which means I am entering my final week with this brace on, and I cannot express to you how excited I am to finally get this thing off. It has been quite a journey over the past 6 weeks since my surgery, and I definitely was in for more than I bargained for whenever I first got the surgery. This is not what I thought it was going to be, but I feel like by the end of it, I've made the most of the situation, and I'm just thankful that we have this modern technology, that this was a problem that could be fixed. And I think I've mentioned before, they say that I should have a 100% full recovery. So I'm super excited to get this brace off and start the occupational therapy journey. I was told that it should be 4 to 6 weeks in occupational therapy before I'm back to work. So a little more of a baby step here in between, but we're getting there. And I know that it's probably going to be pretty painful for the first day at least, if not the first week. I don't know how long, just until my wrist isn't so stiff, but I'm ready to take on that. It should not be worse than the initial pain from the surgery. So I can do it. It'll be good. I'm just so excited. This week I'm planning to try to just relax and enjoy these last few days off with no expectations as best that I can. And then hopefully just kind of set myself up for a solid next 6 weeks, where I will be introducing things back into my life, getting a little more movement, being able to do more activities as the weeks go on. I plan to sit down on my Notion today and write out a list of everything that I hope to accomplish, or just things that I'd like to remember. And I'd also think I want to write down things that I've learned through this process. It's really easy to be so engrossed in something in the moment, and then as times pass and you're not in that situation anymore, you can kind of forget the valuable lessons that you learned along the way. So I'd like to write those down, because I feel like this has been a very enlightening journey for me. I definitely have worked on my resilience, my word of the year. So I would like to just capture those memories and moments and make sure that I use it to better myself in the future as well. Like I said, tomorrow I'll hop on and show you what my arm is looking like. And then my appointment with the surgeon is on Thursday. So I'm not sure if I'm supposed to have an occupational appointment immediately afterwards, because they are in the same building. They did not mention that when I made the appointment, but it would make sense. Otherwise, I'm sure they'll get me in pretty speedily for an appointment either Friday or the beginning of next week. It is Wednesday afternoon. I just came out for an appointment that I had and finished it up, and I thought I would go ahead and check in with you guys. I did not check in yesterday to show my incision, so I thought it would be a good time now. It was really rainy yesterday and the light just wasn't good. And then when I went to take my sleeve off to shower last night, it got stuck to like a piece of my scab and pulled. Whew, that hurt. So I just wasn't really in the mood, but I thought today would be good. I'm in good lighting here. Let's see what she's looking like. You can see right here where that scab got pulled up, and then a little piece of scab here peeled off too. So a little more healing to go. The ones on my hands are healing pretty good. But yeah, this is what we're looking like. Definitely not as good as I would like, but I am continuing on with the cocoa butter. And as soon as I get this brace off, I'm going to start doing bio oil as well. Today should officially be my last day in the brace, I think. I feel like I've walked into every appointment so far in this journey of healing my wrist, thinking I know what's going to happen and not knowing at all. I went into my first appointment, I almost didn't even go to the doctor. And then my wrist was still hurting, and where it happened at work, I was like, I should probably go. And then they sent me for an MRI, and I was like, that's a little more than I was expecting to hear. And then I get my MRI back, and she's like, I'm gonna refer you to the surgeon. And I was like, okay, that's fine. They're just fitting me for a brace, no big deal. And then the surgeon said, oh, by the way, you need surgery. We'll send the nurse in and have you booked next month. And I was like, surgery? Wait, hold up, what? And then after my surgery and my first appointment, I was expecting him to say, oh, you'll get your brace off next week. no, I have it for 6 weeks. And then I assumed at the end of the 6 weeks that I would be going back to work and doing physical therapy at the same time, and that was also not the case. I am out another 6 weeks doing the physical therapy. So I am walking in tomorrow a little more reserved with what I am expecting to happen. But from what I have gathered, I should be getting the brace off tomorrow. It is 6 weeks. The only thing I would think that would hold it up is if they tell me I have to hold it or keep it on until I have an actual appointment with my occupational therapist. So I'm keeping it in the back of my head that maybe it's a few more days just in case, and that way I will feel really good if I do get to take it off tomorrow. But theoretically today should be the last full day in my brace, and I'm just really excited to get out of it. So what's really funny is I went in for imaging and for something not related to my wrist, and she was like, oh, it's your right side. And I was like, oh no, it's my left. I've been using my left hand oh my gosh, I've been using my left hand so much that my brain now associates it with being my dominant hand, and I've known my whole life that my dominant hand is my right hand. So I totally flipped my left and right in there. It was so funny. It's just weird that, you know, I guess it takes 6 weeks to have your brain fully decide that your other hand is your dominant hand. All right, I'm gonna head back home. I'm considering stopping at Chick-fil-A. I missed the free cold brew at Starbucks this past week, so I'm pretty sad about that. But I might pick up some Chick-fil-A. I'm gonna call my husband first to make sure he's not planning to eat dinner like the moment we get home. And if not, Chick-fil-A's sounding really good right now. So I'll check in with you guys in a bit. Zach didn't answer his phone, so that means I got Chick-fil-A. I'm so freaking excited for this. All I've had to eat today, if you even want to count as that, is a protein shake. And it is 3:33 p.m. So I'm going to sit in the parking lot here, eat my little Chick-fil-A, and then head home. It is 1:03 on the day of my appointment to get this brace off. I'm so excited. So I'm going to get ready, and then we're going to head that way.
Be honest, tell me what's on your mind. Oh baby, when I lay my eyes on you from afar, I could swear I thought you fell from the stars. Think about you day and night, girl, even when you're not around. I don't want it if it's not with you. Hey, I'm just keeping it straight, cause you got me feeling distracted. Let me show you the way, girl, I don't take it for granted. Why can't we just give it a go?
All right, the day is officially here. We are ready and leaving. We're gonna grab a bite to eat before my appointment at 3, and I am so freaking excited. I cannot believe it is finally time to get this brace off.
I have a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh, be honest, tell me why. Honest, tell me why. I have a strawberry side on the side next to you. No wasting time, can you tell me the truth? I'm feeling you, yeah, I'm feeling you. Oh, oh.
So I am out of the brace. I'm supposed to be weaning out of it, so I'm still gonna sleep in it at night. And like if I'm not at the house or if I'm doing something I think I might like hurt it, she wants me to wear it. But I'm supposed to be doing these exercises every hour. I want to show you how much I can bend my wrist. That's as far back as it'll go. That's as far down. That's me going to the right, going to the left as far as I can. And I've been working on it all day, so that's actually some progress. I'm checking back in for my 7-week update. Today is Wednesday. What month is it now? Ooh, May 21st. Wow, this whole process, I don't even know what month I'm in anymore. But I'm officially 1 day past my 7-week update, so I thought I would hop on and show you what my wrist is looking like. It's healing pretty good. Definitely looking a little more red and angry, but that's just part of the healing process. I've been using my cocoa butter and vitamin E and a little bit of that bio oil on it probably 3 or 4 times a day. I've been massaging it as they recommended, and whew, that hurts. I'm still having a pretty decent amount of pain when I just like run my finger along my skin, and then even like light pressure hurts pretty bad. But the pain I had before that was kind of running up my forearm is better. It's not completely gone away, but I'm having less episodes of it hurting throughout the day, so that's good. My wrist pain itself, when you're not touching it, it's still coming and going, but again, I'm making marked improvement from last week. I've also been doing the Epsom salt baths on my wrist, which has been helpful. I noticed that I can kind of get my mobility a little better after the Epsom salt bath, which makes sense. Speaking of mobility, I am doing a lot better than when the brace was first off. I definitely still have a ways to go. I have definitely made some improvements here. Can't say that it feels good whatsoever, but we're making progress. So slowly but surely, we're getting there. I do plan to call at the 2-week mark to see if I can set up some OT appointments. I spoke to some of my family members that are in the medical field, and then in just my opinion as a nurse, I feel like there's just no way that I'm going to make it back to work without having some occupational therapy. The amount of atrophy of muscle and just loss of dexterity, things like that, are not things I'm going to naturally just bounce back from. I certainly will need a little help. So I've been sleeping in my brace still at night, and then if I'm like riding in a vehicle or going out in public, I put it on. Otherwise, when I'm at home, my wrist has been free. I try not to pick up anything heavy or do anything pretty crazy with it, but I've been also trying to just incorporate it slowly but surely back into my everyday routine. And I decided I think these last few weeks I'm going to just tie together in one video. So that's pretty much everything I have to say for my 7-week update. I will catch you in week 8. It's the last day of June, so we are right at that 2-month mark. And I wanted to give an update over the past week and a half, what's been going on. I came out of my brace almost exactly 2 weeks ago. I guess technically I started weaning out of my brace about 2 weeks ago. So I started to do little bits at home where I wasn't wearing it. If I was leaving the house, going to the grocery store, riding in a vehicle, and then definitely when I was still sleeping at night. I weaned out of it completely at a week and a day. And now at night, I'm just wearing a regular Ace wrist brace. So that's kind of the update on terms of me being out of the brace. So since that, I had noticed, I think I had mentioned in one of my prior updates that anytime I would straighten my palm out, I would have a lot of tingling and numbness from the tip of my finger, down here to my wrist. And I assumed that was just a normal part of recovery, just nerves being messed with. So I wasn't super concerned about it. And that has continued to slowly get better. I don't feel that sensation now when I stretch my palm. However, when I touch things with this hand, they feel like a completely different texture. So everything feels very rough. Even my soft cats or a super soft blanket, if I touch it with this hand, it's very strange to touch your face and your face to feel completely different on one side versus the other. But every day that seems to be getting a little bit better. Still there, but I'm thinking probably by this time next month, it should be mostly gone. My wrist has continued to be very stiff as well. I can move it a decent bit more than I was previously able to. To the side there still really hurts pretty bad. And then in terms of turning, well, I need to not move my elbow. It's a slow process. And my pain has improved a little bit as the days go on. I still certainly have pain, and to touch my wrist like this, it still definitely hurts. And it hurts superficially, but also deeper it hurts as well. So I'm assuming that that's just a normal part of the process. I talked to my occupational therapist and my surgeon over the phone a few days ago, which we'll touch on later. But both of them had mentioned that being in pain at this stage is still quite normal. The good news is the pain that had been shooting up my forearm is not nearly as bad. I don't get that quite as often, and the pain across the top of my wrist is usually not as bad. However, I am having a pain that I am a little concerned about. Anytime I try to do, imagine a praying motion and you just kind of gently press. So if I'm trying to kind of, let's say, take my pants on and off, wash my hands, if you were trying to just steady a plate, so you could take a knife on the other side or just anything like that, my wrist pops really bad. And it's enough that I jump backwards and kind of scream in pain. So that I'm not sure is normal. I let it go on for a couple days, just assuming that it was a part of my, getting my joints unstiff, getting all of my tendons loose again. I thought at first it was just my actual like wrist bones popping, but the more that it's happened, I'm concerned that it is that tendon popping in and out of the groove. I called my occupational therapist and my surgeon's office on Wednesday about it, and they both got back to me the following day on Thursday, yesterday. So they are also a little concerned about it. Nobody's jumping to conclusions yet, but my occupational therapist said that he wanted to make sure I was at the office at a time when the surgeon or the PA could see me. So he was actually going to see me on his lunch break today so that I could be there before they leave the office. But he was able to squeeze me into another appointment. And he had, I think his exact words were, "I don't want to stress you or scare you, but I definitely want to make sure that they see this and that it is not the tendon popping out of the groove." And that's just, I'm taking it as it comes. I'm not going to stress about it until I have a reason to stress about it. I'm just really hoping that this is something that just needs a little more time to heal. Maybe that things are still inflamed and there's not enough space in the groove for the tendon to set like it will once it's like less swollen. That's what my hope is anyways. But I have an appointment. It is 12 o'clock now, so in 2 hours I'm going to go there. My dad's driving up this weekend for us to do some stuff with our podcast, and so he's going to go to that appointment with me. So I will try to get some clips if we do any type of like occupational therapy stuff with my wrist, if I'm able to, if I'm allowed to, but otherwise I will update you afterwards. So that's my update so far for my 2-month post-op. Overall, I'm doing pretty good-ish, like still in pain, more in pain than I thought I would be by this point, but everyone just keeps saying this is a very painful surgery and it is normal to be in pain for quite a while afterwards. So I'm just thankful that it's getting better with each day. It seems like each week I am coming back to you guys with better updates, as long as, this groove is not popping in, or the tendon's not popping in and out of this groove and I have to get surgery again. Ugh, I don't even want to say those words out loud, but fingers crossed, everything's going to be good. He said they may prescribe me an anti-inflammatory or something, so we shall see. I'm back from my appointment with my occupational therapist, and overall it went really well. He said that he was concerned about the amount of popping that I was having in my wrist, but overall he thought that my mobility was still really good and even ahead of what he was expecting. So that's good, and that the pain that I'm having outside of the popping is still very normal. He reiterated that this is the number one most painful surgery of all the wrist surgeries that our outpatient surgery did. So all of that is relatively good news. He wants me to keep an eye on the popping. He gave me another compression band to put on it and to double it up when I can, and then to kind of lay off how often I'm doing my mobility stretches throughout the day. So they're also going to prescribe me a pack of prednisone to see if maybe that'll help the swelling, and maybe it is just too swollen and it's kind of popping out of the groove. So fingers crossed. And he also did say that out of all of the surgeries that they've done with this particular surgery, they've never had to do a revision. So that's also very reassuring. He just wants me to keep an eye on it and kind of back off things that are kind of making it have that popping sensation for a little bit. And then I'm going to the beach this upcoming week, and then I'll have an appointment with him that following Monday on the 9th. So I'm feeling a little bit better about it. Definitely keeping an eye on it, backing off how much I'm doing with my wrist, especially anything that was kind of causing that big popping that I was having, and taking the prednisone, and we'll see how that goes. I wanted to sit down today and film my 10-week update for my post-op wrist surgery journey that I've been sharing with you guys. Just as a reminder, I did have a sub-sheath repair on my right wrist. I had my surgery on April 1st. Today is June 10th, so we are now several months out. And this has been quite a long healing journey. that if you've been following along, you definitely know was not exactly what I was expecting. I believe the last time I got on to update was for my week 8, and I had stopped to see my occupational therapist before I left for the beach for a week. At that time, I was still having a pretty decent amount of pain and was a little bit concerned about a lot of popping. I would say a lot of it, concerned about some popping or snapping that I was having in my wrist. I'm happy to update that my pain has significantly decreased over the past, I would say like 4 days. I'm hoping we continue on that path, but it has certainly been significantly less throughout the day. If I touch my wrist or rub it when I'm applying lotion and things like that, it still hurts, but I was having pain just throughout my day. Now, obviously, I am doing less with it than I am my other hand, and I'm trying to be mindful because of that snapping. So I'm sure that has something to do with it, but also I'm hoping it's just a part of the healing journey. When I stopped to talk to my occupational therapist at the 8-week mark, he, like I said, was very concerned about the popping or snapping that I was having, and that has decreased significantly. It was very painful when the snapping would happen. It went from like 0 to 10, like immediately, but I'm still having that snapping sensation. It's less frequent, although I am using my right hand less dominantly than I was trying to initially. However, it's also less painful when it's happening. So my kind of hypothesis was maybe it was because of some of the like hard swelling that I still have on the side of my wrist. You can see that definitely still swollen. You can't really see my ulnar bone on this side very well yet. It's not very pronounced. And he said that that can take months to go down completely. However, he did also give me some compression sleeves, look like this, and I wore these religiously while I was at the beach, kind of for twofold reason: A, to try to help with the swelling, B, to keep my scar out of the sun, which is so important with fresh scars. Really, for the whole first year, you should be trying to avoid the sun and applying sunscreen, covering it up the whole time. So I would say I wore this compression sleeve probably like, I don't know, 4 to 8 hours every single day, and I did notice a really big improvement with my swelling in my arm. So I think that that has helped with the snapping feeling. I'm just hoping that it goes away completely, because otherwise that is kind of what the whole point of the surgery was for. So that would be devastating, but we're not letting ourselves go there. And I'm hopeful with it, decreasing and the pain of it being less, that it's just kind of a part of the healing process. The other thing my occupational therapist gave me, several of my appointments, I've seen him 3 times now, were these little foam kind of squeeze. The pink is definitely easier to squeeze, as you can tell, than the blue. So I have graduated from the pink onto the blue now. And this is just something he wants me to kind of set around and just casually squeeze throughout the day. And I think that's just, to build strength back up in my hand before we start like an official occupational therapy session. I am still wearing a brace at night. I'm just using this basic, I think it was from either Walmart or Target. Brand is Mueller. And it is kind of like a hard bottom here to give me some support, because I'm a wild sleeper. I know I've mentioned that, but I will wake up in the craziest positions, and I question how that's not hurting. But this has been beneficial, and honestly probably something I'm going to do for quite a while afterwards, just until my wrist is like fully back and I'm having no pain or worries about flexibility or mobility, just as a precaution to not hurt myself. Speaking of mobility, my OT has been super pleased with the amount of mobility and flexibility I've gotten back into my wrist and hand so far in such a short amount of time. My OT's also been super happy with my progress on my mobility and flexibility with my hand and wrist. I do my exercises 2 to 3 times a day, and I have noticed a pretty big improvement over the past several weeks as well. I know everything online says the 6-week mark is when things start getting better, but when I was speaking with my OT last, he did say that the 6-week mark, you're not fully healed. The 8-week mark is when you're expected to be fully healed. And I will say the jump between 8 weeks and 10 weeks is when I've really noticed the biggest difference so far. In terms of what I'm doing or how I'm doing with mobility, I will show you how well I have improved since the last update. This direction could definitely use some more progress, but I'm very pleased with how much I've been able. I could almost do, not physically do it, but I could almost do a push-up now. And side to side, honestly, I think this is pretty good progress, and so does my OT. And then in terms of moving, definitely doing better in this direction. He said that going to the right was going to be the harder one for me. But yeah, definitely a lot of progress. And I'm, hoping over the coming months I'm going to get right back to what my left side can do. In terms of pain, like I mentioned, my pain has significantly decreased just over the past 4 days. And I am so happy to not have to constantly be worrying about the way that I'm positioning my wrist and whether I need to take Motrin or ibuprofen or something like that. Doing day-to-day tasks now, I'm still very mindful of what I do with my wrist. So I'm not living life as I did pre-surgery. However, I have found kind of my limits, and I am able to do that throughout the day. And as time progresses, hopefully that limit just keeps getting more and more until I'm right back to normal. I did make a very questionable decision a few nights ago and decided to search on YouTube for videos that show the actual surgery procedure that I had done. I'm not sure that I would recommend that if you were having the sub-sheath repair. I'm in the medical field. I'm a nurse. I have seen surgeries live and in person. I have seen very traumatic injuries from being in the trauma bay, and it's a little different when you know it's something that happened to you. So not necessarily something I would recommend, but it was very informative for me, and it made so much more sense why I was in so much pain. I was under the impression that it was closer to a minor surgery. You made the incision, threw a few stitches in, and called it a day. And that is not exactly what the inside of your wrist looks like. So, like I said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend, but I'm very thankful that I have a better understanding now of A, what the procedure was, and B, why there was so much pain, swelling, inflammation, and why this healing process has been as long as it has been. I think I'm going to wrap up this update video here. I'm sure I will continue to update in other videos in the future. They may not be standalone though. I may incorporate those updates into other videos that I'm putting out each week. This has been an incredibly long journey, much longer than I expected, and I'm so glad that I decided to document it. Even if there's only a handful of people out there that this type of information can help, I just wish that there would have been somebody that I found that had done this before I had my surgery. So I hope that this has been helpful for you in some way, even if you have a slightly different surgery. Maybe it has been relatable on just the recovery process and not being your normal self, especially when it's not something that you had mentally prepared for, sudden injury, things like that. I really appreciate everyone that has decided to stick around and subscribe so far. My content is going to kind of shift a little bit in these upcoming weeks. I kind of have a plan for the next 6 months towards the end of the year, and I hope you'll join me for the journey. As always, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.